Hello, my name is Brad Hunt. My channel is Discerning What is True, and I'm going to be reading from a particular book called Sacred Science tonight. Trying to get a few chapters out of the way here since it's kind of quiet tonight, and since these are shorter chapters. This is the chapter I'm going to be reading is called Chapter 7, calls The Cosmic Eminence. Again, this book is written by Rene. Um, my mind just slipped. Um, Rene, let's see, Rene Schwoller de Lubicz, Sacred Son, the King of the Pharaonic Theocracy. And so we're going to be reading this particular chapter, chapter 7, called Cosmic Eminence. And we just finished up the magic and sorcery and medicine, which I found really interesting. And this is going to be, looks like a pretty short chapter, and we should get through it hopefully within 30 minutes, hopefully. So thank you for being here, and let's get into the book. Okay. Cosmic Eminence, Chapter 7. Egypt is made in the image of heaven. The expression is well known, although its meaning is rather difficult to explain. It is obviously not meant to imply a copy of the starry sky, but rather a reflection upon Earth of cosmic harmony in the image of harmonic coincidence with influence of celestial order. The facts, the astronomical observations can be ascertained only life, that is, however, only the vital effects in relation with these facts can demonstrate the influence which is here the topic at hand. There is nothing scientific in speaking about such influences, although astrologers observe certain planetary harmonics in the zodiac cycle and how they coincide with events in the life of an individual whose birth theme is known. Is this a matter of influence or harmony? Though the term is difficult to replace, influence is actually not correct. The term harmony is preferable, though no more explicit. That is, the fact is ascertained beyond doubt, but its cause is defined with a word of musical meaning. Its value difficult to understand when a planetary grouping of the sky annual or diurnal circuit is concerned. But the emotional effects of music, equally well as certain, also remain unexplained. The harmonic phenomenon is supernatural, a result of inborn consciousness in all things, causing affinities in material elements and symphony of antipathy among living creatures. Thus, cosmic harmony is in direct relation with all that exists, be this cycle indefinitely long for the worlds in the sky, or indefinitely short for the beings living on a planet or to a speck of dust. This is the true music of the spheres, you see, Spheres. It is relevant here to recall a very ancient text that epitomizes a wisdom found on knowledge of the laws of harmony and Genesis, that is, the emerald tablets, where emerald is the color that chiefly symbolizes the vegetation and life. Quote, true it is without falsehood, certain and very real. What is below is as the which is above, and what is above is of that which is below. In order to perform the miracle of one thing only, and just as all things have been and have come forth from one small, so all things have been born of this sole singular thing by adaptation. The sun is its father, the moon is its mother, and the wind has carried it in its belly. The earth is in its nurse. The father of the entire telemy of the whole world is here. Its force of potency is entire if it is if it be converted into earth. Thou shalt separate the earth from the fire, the subtle from the dense, gently with great ingenuity. It rises from earth to heaven, and again descends into her, and receives the strength of things above and below. By this means thou shalt have the glory of all the world, and through it all obscurity will flee from thee. This is the strong strength of all strength, for it will banish any subtle type, and penetrate any solid thing. Thus has the world been created. From this there shall be and there will come forth marvelous adaptations, the means of which is here. Therefore I have been called Hermes Trismegistus, possessing the three parts of the philosophy of the entire world. What I have said concerning the operation of the sun is accomplished and perfected. End quote. Next section is called the calendar. Because Egypt is made in the image of heaven, we must consider what the ancients knew about astronomy. Their knowledge in that domain is revelatory of the true workings of their minds. Seeing that the land is organized in this image is the sense expressed by the emerald tablet. The day was divided into 24 hours, 12 hours of light and 12 hours of darkness. Each hour bore a name specifically in influence. The hours of this day were determined by means of sundials, and the hours of the night by cleocitros. In addition, mechanical clocks are known to have existed. In royal tombs at the 20th dynasty, star tablets had been found which indicate hour by hour the positions of the principal stars by 2-week periods. These are observations akin to our observations of a star crossing the meridian. That's wild, isn't it? They knew that stuff back then. This was 4, 5, 6, 7,000 years ago. Classical texts assert, moreover, that the rising and setting of stars had been observed in Egypt for an incredible number of years and had been recorded on special tablets. The ancients never strove for a concordance of the absolutely incomparable solar and lunar cycles, which have always confounded astronomers. You see, the months were of two kinds. There was the lunar month of 29 and 30 days alternately. Each day had its name and certain religious ceremonies corresponding to the phases of the moon. The celebrations of Mims coming forth, M-I-N-S, Mims, for instance, which took place on the day of the new moon. There was also a division of the solar cycle with 12 months of 30 days, each of 360 days total, which were added the 5 days preceding the year. It was said that the Neters were born on these days. They are consecrated consecutively to Osiris, Horus, Seth, Isis, and Nephthah. Transliterated from the hieroglyphics, the names read Osir, Her, Seth, Aset, and Nabhed. The totality of 365 days formed the vague year according to which all civil acts were dated. The 5 meters of these intercalated, that is, days, are the natural prudence imminent to the year. Osiris is cut into pieces, distributed throughout the year by Seth, who holds back the fire fallen into earth, carrying off the divine light, that is Lucifer, or Horus. At a particular moment, Isis conceives Horus from the phallus of Osiris, principle of fecundity. Nephthah, in turn, revives Osiris. You see, there are 3 seasons in pharaonic Egypt, each of 4 months, commanding by the Nile River: the dry season, inundation, and the germination, or life. Seth is implied in the in the dry season, as is Isis in the flood season. According to the myth, it is a teardrop of Isis falling from the heavens which makes the Nile water swell. At the moment of the heliacal rising of Sirius, star of Isis. Osiris is the principle of constant centrifugal renewal, and Nephthah that of the return of life. On this occasion, Isis and Nephthah are symbolized by two kites, two volatiles, that is, sometimes in their anthropomorphic aspect. Isis is shown dressed in a white on red, and Nephthah is red and on white. By means of astronomical observations of the sun, the moon, the stars, and their movements, the relation to the earth, the pharaonic sages had established a calendar allowing facts to be accurately situated in time. Their calendar achieved a degree of perfection not surpassed by any other, and this wonder merits our admiration. All this movement in the universe, you see, it can either be, it can even be said that the universe is nothing but movement. This movement is physical in its spatial relativity, but from a vital point of view, movement is a sequence of phases progressing in time from an origin or seed towards its accomplishment or fruit. Of these 2 points of view, one is mechanical, the other is vital. This is a mental disassociation of natural phenomena which spatial and temporal movements are actual and inseparable. But wisdom rejects the call for disassociation through the mental faculties, you see, of use only to give us a consciousness of outside of us and inside of us. This is of aid in certain facts, but does not further our knowing being. The life phenomenon is the effect of this identification between the harmony of physical movements in space and the phases of any and all genesis. Our earth, with all that lives on it, is a part of a living whole, and its movements in space are submitted to a celestial respiration, just as every cell in our body is submitted to the vital effort of our own respiration. This latter function is exercised by our Haty, H-A-T-Y, comprised of lungs and heart, by the living organs which measure our space and time. Instead of attempting the formulation of a rigid calendar, the ancients knew how to take into account all celestial movements and to relate them to life on earth. We have seen that these sages gave consideration to both the lunar and the solar cycle, while keeping them separate one from the other. The solar cycle is complex in itself. In our day, use is made of both the tropical year, which is the time span between two consecutive returns of the globe to the spring equinox, and of the sidereal year, which is the time span elapsed between two conjunctions of the Earth with the same star. But both of these periods involve fractions of days, minutes, and seconds, and cannot be used as a fixed temporal unit because they need constant adjustments. Accordingly, the ancients adapted neither one nor the other, but rather based themselves on the Sothia Satadid year of 365 and 1/4 days exactly, the year determined by the periodical return of the heliacal rising of Sirius. It is a fact that among the extremely slow movements of the stars called fixed in relation to one another, Sirius is the only one that allows the compensation of irrational discrepancy of time. Therefore, it permits establishment of a fixed year, or year of God, which serves as a measure of reference to keep track of all celestial movements. The heliacal rising of Sirius determines New Year's Day, called openings of the year. An exceptional feature of the pharaonic calendar was the establishment of the civil calendar on the very basis of the shift of the vague year of 365 days in relation to the fixed year of 365 and 1/4 days. It is this difference of 1 day every 4 years, which is in fact allows for precise dating whenever the documents furnish a double date, or in the course of a 1460-year solar cycle, New Year's Day falls successively on Earth Day of the vague year. as the heliacal rising of Sirius takes place one day earlier for each degree of latitude going from north to south, according to the official date of the new year corresponding to July 19th of our Julian calendar. It has been possible to determine with exactitude that the heliacal rising of Sirius was calculated in Helipus. In those days, as the texts show, it was announced ahead of time from the temple to all the other cities of Egypt on what day or what month of the current vague year that New Year's Day was to be celebrated. This system of dating is a vernier or sliding gauge in time. Here's an example. Year 9 under the majesty of the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Zeskabiri, that is, the Mendelthes, the first, second king of the 18th dynasty. Festival of the New Year, third month of the season of Shemu, day 9, rising of Ceres. This date is easily interpreted by the chronologists, that is, year 9 of Amenhotep. I was one of the 4 years from 1550 to 1547 BC, and if the length of the reign of the other kings is known, this information makes it possible to reconstruct the order of the entire dynasty. Another example is found in the text of Thonius the third, where the date of the new year is also given in relation to the civil year, but the year of the reign is lost. Quote, the third month of the season of Shemu, date 28, festival of the rising of Ceres. Ceres. This inscription can be dated exactly between the years 1474 and 1471 BC. To complete this information, however, and to recover the date of the beginning of Thonius III reign, mention is made of a lunar date, which can be found in a text relating to the foundation of this monarch's Set Festival Temple, SED Festival Temple. Quote, My Majesty ordered that the ceremony of stretching the cord be prepared at the approach of the day of the new moon festival in order that the cord be stretched for the monument in the year 24, second month of the PERR season, last day. The foundation ceremony is thus dated the 23rd day of February 1477 BC and the beginning of the reign of Thonius III from 1501. In contrast with these demonstrative examples, our calendar will never enable future archaeologists to situate an event in time because our year 1 is determined by a theological datum and not an astronomical date. Interesting. The double dates provided by the document have made it possible, moreover, to define the precise dates at which the fixed year and the vague year coincide once more, i.e. in the year AD 140 and in the years 1320, 2780, and 4240 BC. Hence, the foundation of the calendar must necessarily go back to one of these dates, as the pyramid texts, judging from their archaic style, must in part precede Mendes, and as judging from their and as Sothis or Ceres already figures in these texts are as presiding over the year. The Sotia period, 2780, must be excluded as too recent, and the conclusion can be revealed that pharaonic calendar was introduced in 4240 BC. In order to establish the fixed year, it is a fact that the ancient Egyptians deliberately chose the heliacal rising of Ceres, the only star to return periodically every 365 and 1/4 days during the entire empire. So in other words, this star here is the most important star out there, which I've heard this before. This fact implies exceptional astronomical knowledge as well as a very long period of observation preceding the introduction of the calendar. There's much controversy concerning their knowledge of the heavens, which is admired by some and contested by others, with arguments worthy of derision. There is a further particular to the pharaonic calendar. In contrast with our division of the Gregorian year, the ancients made no attempt to arrive at a rigorous concurrence with the season, notwithstanding the fact that the latter commanded the whole of agricultural life. This constitutes another that is a veneer in time. This reminds me, the word veneer. Veneer is simply when I was involved in machine tools, we used what they call a veneer caliper. You see, so it was a caliper, a way of being able to measure precise in hundreds, not hundreds, but in tenths. Maybe I think it was in hundreds. Anyway, indeed, while for us in the summer solstice returns each year on June 21st or 22nd, thus determining a fixed reference point for the pharaonic solar cycle. That is, being 1460 years, the summer solstice advanced 11.5 days in relation to the rising of Sirius. That this fact was perfectly well known to the ancients is shown by the temporal correction brought to the celebration of the summer solstice or birth of Ra. The essential facts are as follows. Number one, the first day of the first month of the fixed year or festival of the new year had always been determined by the heliacal rising of Sirius. Number two, in the year 4240 BC, the summer solstice fell 6 to 9 days after the new year and was consequently celebrated under the name of birth of Ra during the first month of the fixed year. But as the solstice advanced from 5 to 6 days in each solstice half cycle, it happened that the birth of Ra coincided with the new year around the year 3400. In the year 2780, the solstice fell during the 5 days of the birth of the Neters. This remained in keeping with the calendar of celebrations as these days were reconsidered. The 5 days over the year after two solar cycles, however, in the year 1320 under SETI, the first, the birth of Ra or summer solstice no longer took place either during the first month or during the 5 intercalary days, but between the 19th and 22nd day of the 12th month of Syrian year. In other words, 13 days before the rising of Sirius or New Year's Day. At that stage, a reform seemed in order, not as far as concerned the calendar, which remained immutable, but for the reckoning of religious festivals. The birth of Ra was celebrated during the 12th month instead of the first. This conformed to the true displacement of the statistical, uh, statistical point, solstice point among the constellations. This reform resulted in the shifting of 1 month for all other religious festivals, and these events, in the end, gave their names to the months of the late empire, names they were transmitted as such in Coptic. If we keep in mind that the solstices gain approximately 11 days per solar cycle with respect to the rising of Sirius, it may be observed that the periodical return of a star to a particular meridian loses approximately 9 days during the same cycle, so that the vernicic point is displaced by approximately 20 days in 1460 years among the constellations of the zodiac. This is a precession of the equinox. Its discovery was hitherto attributed to Ethopartius. On the one hand, however, considered that tables of the star rising are known to have existed, as well as lists of the 36 decans, each corresponding to 1/3 of a theoretical zodiac sign, and that, on the other hand, evidence exists of the shifting of the calendar monthly festivals. It is incontestable that the ancient Egyptians ascertained the phenomenon of the precessions of the equinoxes. This is attested to by the modifications brought to the festival calendar of the tropical year, hence to the seasons with respect to the serial level. Let's see if I can show you this. It's got a picture here. It's going to be pretty hard to see because it's really done in a very small print. So I'll try to get it here in the right place for you to see. I know I get my fingers in the way too. This is a list of the decans followed by Orion and Sirius, sealing of the tomb of Senmut, Senmut. This is part of the 18th dynasty. It is significant also that the rendition that has already related the heliacal rising of Sirius with the beginning of the Nile's flooding and with the zodiac sign of Leo. Indeed, since the foundation of the calendar to the beginning of our era in Egypt, the sun was always situated in the constellation Leo at the date of the heliacal rising of Sirius. This is the reason why, since the ancient empire, the temple's gargotos were carved in the shape of lion's head. Okay. And the zodiac cycle, the sign of Leo, is opposed and complementary by Aquarius, a sign representing on the dendera, D-E-N-D-E-R-A, dendera zodiac by two bases from which water pours. This symbol is placed in the hands of the Nile god, Hapi, H-A-P-I. In the 5th millennium BC, the heliacal rising of Sirius took place in the constellation, that is, of Virgo. This could have motivated the attributions of Sirius to Isis, along with the mythical and vital significance of the character of Isis' star, that is, Sotius, or again, Sirius, which was also called the Great Provider. The summer solstice, which during the ancient empire occurred when the sun was in the constellation Leo, shifted into Cancer from the beginning of the Middle Empire onward, and there with the vernal point passed from Taurus to Aries. The precession cycle, therefore, is in theory a span of 26,000 years, during which the vernal point travels through the 12 sites of the sky designated by their dominant constellation. This cycle is composed of 12 months, each with a duration of about 2,160 years. This is how each cycle gears what they're talking about in 12, meaning that 2,160 years is through each zodiac sign. So if you went through Taurus, it would be 2,160 years. And then if you go through Aquarius and all these particular zodiac signs, it would be always that way. Each month is subdivided into 3 decans of 720 years. These processional months designated the great nature of the cult, whose influence colors all the other principles. It is always none, the primordial, that is the primordial, indeterminate state or ocean, which receives the characteristic impulses of the celestial influence, and this impulse varies according to the processional month. Thus, it is that pharaonic prehistory was dominated by the twins, Shu and Tefnon, whose nature consists of separating heaven from earth. This has been interpreted as representing the 2 crowns of the empire as yet dualized. At that time, there existed the kingdom of the south with its double capital of Netben, Nekben, and Netheb, Nekheb, and the kingdom of the north with its dual capital of Dep, Dep, and Ppe. The vestiges of this period show a pronounced double character, and it is certainly at this time that the Ethiopian mystery of primordial dualization was revealed. At Memphis, under the ancient empire, there was the domination of Hop, the bull, who precipitated celestial fire into the terrestrial form. The bull, the great nature of the historical period, extended from 1380 to 2200 BC, commands the Cretan civilization as well, Cretan. From the Middle Empire to the beginning of the Christian era, we see the dominance or domination of Ammon, the ram. It is in Thebes under the predominance of Ammon that the generating fire is extracted, so to speak, from its terrestrial Ganget matrix, Krong Su, by the grace of Throat, Master Homotheus. None is invariably while the receptive millennia or environments are genitive and hence feminine. They are successively. None is Heliopus and Sedmet and Hathor in Memphis, and then Mud and Thebes. So this is going to be really. Let's see if I can show this guys to you here. This takes up almost a page in this particular book. I'm going to show you this particular description. I'm trying to get my fingers off of here. So here's the bottom part. So it gives a west of origin, true south. You can see that it's very complex here. You have the true north, the axis of the temple, and you have east of origin. This is called the circular zodiac of Dinter. What was elaborate at Heliopolis was Shu and Tefnun as creation. In Memphis, it becomes Nefertun, issue of the couple Hot and Sehemet, while at Thebes, the product of Ammon and Mut in Khonsu. But successive means generation and not just position, although the philosophical legend must situate the principles as if coexistent persons were involved. Finally, towards the year 60 BC, with the end of the political empire of Egypt under Cleopatra, our Christian era of Pisces begins. Thus, there are cosmic seasons defined by the possessions of the equinoxes, stellar seasons with Sotheus, planetary seasons through the circuit and particular movements of the planets on the eclipse, and lastly, the seasons of luminaries through the sun and the moon. Sun and moon give the essential primary complements. The planets called the wanderers give the quantitative orientation through their situation in different sites of the starry heavens. The groupings of the fixed stars tinge the celestial sights and delimit them through Sophis. In coincidence with the sun, they modify the sun's intensity, that is the eye of Ra, because Sophis is the great purveyor of energy. The displacement of vertical point from one zodiac region to another transposes the entire season on which our Earth depends across the stellar cosmic zones, thereby coloring the seasons. Around 2200 BC, possession entered into the constellation of what we call Aries, coincided with the annual terrestrial spring astrological always situation in the sign of Aries. The myth is directly related to the cosmic movements, to cosmic harmony, because of its calendar. It is possible to situate the essential phases of pharaonic Egypt's history, and by means of it, we are able to understand the modifications brought to the essential cult. It has by now been fully documented that the basis of the religious cult changed coincidentally with the astronomical phases of the precession of the equinox. The possibility that the ancient Egyptians might have possessed knowledge concerning precession cycles had been hitherto excluded. Here, with the reasons for the change of the cult of Hoth, the bull, into that of Ammon, the ram, stand clarified, as does the profound significance to be attached to what is presented by Ammon. Ammon is at once the lunar Ammon, inasmuch as primordial water, such as the fetal ammonitine and the cerebral spinal fluids, and the solar Ammon Ra, the emanating and fecundating simulant fire. Ammon is not what we take to mean by a god. Ammon is the cosmic millennia, source of all present life, as was Hop before him, as Pisces still is today, as Aquarius already begins to be for tomorrow. During this long period of precessional month, the dominant constellation influences life on Earth on a universal scale, just as spring or another season does for our short annual cycles. But by what means did these influences and their specificities became known? This is a long and fascinating story which does not enter into the framework of this book. It suffices to know that these exist a cosmic functional prototype for each organic specifically the totality of which makes for the human body. From this there stems that is inversely, the doctrine of anthropos, which takes man as model in the study of the all. The Ammonian principle dominates the best-known period of Pharaonic Egypt. Once its true meaning has been clarified, the myth takes on a living meaning. Images and stories of all times concerning the Neneters are to be understood as one, and the same expression, only colored by the sky, which determines the characteristics influence of the period. Let us suppose that the fact of having entered into the constellation with Aries, situated as in the yellow light, in that case, solar red will be orange, lunar blue will be green, and violet will be annul. Such would be the domination of Ammon, whose name is hidden. Indeed, who can give a name to this influence? A perennial concern for remaining in harmony with the heavens amply justifies events such as the displacement of cult centers or the accentuation of the dominant characters of the epoch, as well as many modifications of the monuments and figurations for which there is no other explanation. And that is the conclusion of chapter 7 tonight, with it called Cosmic Ambiance. Eminence, I should say. So that would be my readings for the night. Take a break. I can tell my voice is having some issues, so we're not going to go on any more than that tonight. And we'll look into maybe next couple of days reading another chapter or two. So I appreciate you again being here tonight. Hopefully that this stimulates you to more study of yourself and finding out why you're here and the purpose. You can see some of these things. This is why the Egyptians went through the whole gamut of all of this. The sad fact is some of us don't even have the idea of the whole gamut. We just have particle pieces of it, so to speak, like a puzzle. And so, but this is a good book that Rene wrote, Schwoller, and I would encourage you to look into more of what he's written. Again, like I said, he spent 15 years in Egypt and doing this type of studies. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your participation. I wish you a good night. You take care.